Hi learners! In today's video, you will learn what a parallelogram is and its properties. Furthermore, you will learn the three special types of parallelograms, their similarities and differences. Sample problems on properties of parallelograms and related topics will be demonstrated with solutions. Strategies on analyzing and solving word problems on the topic are showcased to let you experience how these are done so that you will be able to successfully answer geometry problems similar to this in the future. If your lesson is on parallelograms and their properties, or if you have an assignment on this topic, or if you are preparing for a test in math or a test in geometry in particular, or you're someone who is interested in learning math, then this video is for you. Let us start by describing what a parallelogram is. A parallelogram, as the name suggests, is a quadrilateral, meaning closed four-sided figure with opposite sides parallel. Shown here is parallelogram NFCD. Its properties are as follows. First, its opposite sides are parallel as mentioned earlier. The small arrows within the segment illustrate this property. The same number of arrows indicate the sides that are parallel. These statements can be written for parallelogram NFCD. That is, side NF is parallel to side CD. In like manner, side DN is parallel to side FC. Second, its opposite sides are congruent. The tick mark on the segment illustrates this property. The same number of tick marks indicates the sides that are congruent. For the given parallelogram, we can write these statements. Side NF is congruent to side CD, and side DN is congruent to side FC. Third, its opposite angles are congruent. The arc on the angle illustrates this property. The same number of arcs indicates the angles that are congruent. Thus, we can write this statement. Angle N is congruent to angle C, and angle F is congruent to angle D. Fourth, consecutive angles are supplementary. In parallelogram NFCD, these are the consecutive angles. Angle N and angle F, angle F and angle C, angle C and angle D, and angle D and angle N. They come in pair. Since each pair is supplementary, then each pair has this relation. The measure of angle N plus the measure of angle F equals 180 degrees. The measure of angle F plus the measure of angle C equals 180 degrees. The measure of angle C plus the measure of angle D equals 180 degrees. And the measure of angle D plus the measure of angle N equals 180 degrees. Okay, fifth, its diagonals bisect each other. Here, diagonals MC and FD bisect at point O. The word bisect means divide into two equal parts. Thus, each diagonal is divided into two equal lengths at their point of intersection. The number of tick marks indicate which segment is congruent to which. Thus, here we can write these relations. Segment NO is congruent to segment CL, and segment FO is congruent to segment DO. Sixth, the diagonals form two congruent triangles. For parallelogram NFCD, triangle NFC is congruent to triangle CDN. Let us look at parallelogram EFGH to check our understanding of the concept. In the figure below, if side GH is 15 units, what is the measure of side EF and why? After reading the problem, let us locate side EF in the drawing. The side whose measure we want to know. Okay, so here is side EF. Next, let us locate where side GH is in our drawing. Okay, so here it is with a measure of 15. Now, what can we say about these two sides? You're correct, they are opposite. Now, what do we know about opposite sides of a parallelogram? That they're congruent. So, what is now the measure of side EF? You are correct. Side EF is also 15 units for opposite sides of a parallelogram are congruent. There you are. That was easy, right? Okay, let us look at this other question to check our understanding of the concept before we move on to the special types of parallelogram. Okay, so below is a figure. If the measure of angle P is 70 degrees, what is the measure of angle M and why? Okay, so after reading the problem, let us go and examine the figure. What type of figure do we have here? Right, a parallelogram. The arrows on the drawing inform us this. Let us now locate in the figure angle P. Okay, so here is angle P with a measure of 70 degrees. Okay, this time let us locate angle M, the angle whose measure we want to find. Okay, so here it is. Now, what can you say about angle P and angle M? Remember that this figure is a parallelogram. You are correct. Angle P and angle M are consecutive angles. And what did we say about the sum of these consecutive angles? Okay, that the sum is 180 degrees for they are supplementary. So what number when added to 70 degrees gives 180 degrees? There you are, learners, 110 degrees. So the measure of angle M is 110 degrees. That was easy. Okay, let us now move on to the special types of parallelograms. The first special type of parallelogram is a rectangle. Here is rectangle CMHN. Being a special parallelogram, it has all the properties that a parallelogram has, like its opposite sides are parallel. That is, side CM is parallel to side HN, and side MH is parallel to side NC. Next, its opposite sides are congruent. That is, side CM is congruent to side HN, and side MH is congruent to side NC. Also, its opposite angles are congruent. Thus, angle C is congruent to angle H, and angle M is congruent to angle N. Moreover, all angles are right angles. The boxes indicate this property. Obviously, its consecutive angles are supplementary. Thus, the measure of angle C plus the measure of angle M equals 180 degrees. The measure of angle M plus the measure of angle H is 180 degrees. The measure of angle H plus the measure of angle N is also 180 degrees. And the measure of angle N plus the measure of angle C is 180 degrees. Okay, also its diagonals bisect each other. Here, the diagonals bisect at point O. So the following are true. Segment CO is congruent to segment HO, and segment MO is congruent to segment NO. Moreover, the diagonals are congruent. Thus, diagonal CH is congruent to diagonal MN. Just like the parallelogram, the diagonals form two congruent triangles. Thus, triangle CMH is congruent to triangle HNC. Remember these, learners. What makes a rectangle distinct from a regular parallelogram is that, first, its four angles are right angles, and second, its diagonals are congruent. Thus, we can define a rectangle as a parallelogram with four right angles and with congruent diagonals. Okay, so another special type of parallelogram is a rhombus. A rhombus has all the properties of a parallelogram plus, first, it has four congruent sides. Second, it has diagonals that bisect the angles. Here, every angle at the corner of the figure is divided into two equal parts. And third, it has diagonals that are perpendicular bisectors. That is, the diagonals bisect, forming right angles at their point of intersection. Thus, a rhombus is a parallelogram with all four sides congruent, and diagonals that bisect the angles and are perpendicular bisectors. Another special parallelogram is a square. A square has all the properties of a parallelogram, all the properties of rectangle, and all the properties of a rhombus. A square is a parallelogram with four congruent sides and four right angles. Thus, we define a square as a parallelogram with four congruent sides and four congruent angles. Okay, so with those basic concepts about parallelograms, we are now ready to work on the sample problems that follow. Let's go. Let us start with sample problem 1. Here's the problem. Parallelogram RSTU is shown below. Determine the measure of angle RUS and the measure of RT. Here are the options. Option A, the measure of angle RUS is 30 degrees and RT equals 13. Option B, the measure of angle RUS is 55 degrees and RT is 13. Option C, the measure of angle RUS is 30 degrees and RT is 26. And option D, the measure of angle RUS is 55 degrees and RT is 26. As usual, we begin by reading the whole problem and may read it several times when needed to know what we're looking for, to determine what are given, and to figure out how the given information help find what we're looking for. What are we looking for here, learners? You're correct. We are to determine the measure of angle RUS and the measure of the diagonal RT. What are given? We're given the figure of parallelogram RSTU with some lengths and angle measures. Let us start with the first question, the measure of angle RUS. Let us examine the figure and locate where angle RUS is. Look at the figure carefully, learners. Angle RUS is a part of triangle RUS. On the other hand, side SU of triangle RUS is at the same time a diagonal of the parallelogram. Can you see this, learners? Remember that the diagonal of a parallelogram forms two congruent triangles. Thus, triangle RUS is congruent to triangle TSU. From here, we can see that angle RUS and angle TSU are corresponding angles. And because the triangles are congruent, then angle RUS is congruent to angle TSU. The measure of angle TSU is 55. So, what is the measure of angle RUS? You are correct. It is also 55 degrees. Another way of answering the question is by using the property that opposite sides of a parallelogram are parallel. Let us modify the drawing to show this property. Let us look at the sides that are marked, side ST and side UR, with the small arrows. These sides are parallel and is intersected by the diagonal of the parallelogram, segment SU. This diagonal is at the same time a transversal of side ST and side UR. Can you follow, learners? Recall that when parallel lines are cut by a transversal, alternate interior angles are congruent. Now, since the measure of angle TSU is 55 degrees, then the measure of angle RUS is also 55 degrees. Check the video on angles formed by parallel lines and a transversal for more information on this. The link is down here. Take note that whichever method you will use, you will get the same answer, which is 55 degrees. Okay, we will now move on to the second question, the length of RT, the diagonal. Let us look at the figure again to see where RT is. Okay, since the figure is a parallelogram, we will utilize the property which says that the diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. Look at the figure where diagonal RT is. Here, diagonal SU bisects diagonal RT at point O. In like manner, diagonal RT bisects diagonal SU at point O, right? Since the length of diagonal RT is our concern here, we will just mark diagonal RT. We put tick marks on RT to show that it is divided into two equal lengths like this. Look at the figure carefully. What is the measure of segment RL? You are right, 13. How about segment TL? You are correct. TL is also 13. So, what is the measure of RT, the diagonal? There you are. The measure of RT is 26. That is 13 plus 13 is 26. So, what is our answer here? Is it option A? Option B? Option C? Or option D? There you are, learners. Option D is the answer. Okay, let us move on to sample problem 2. Here's the problem. QRST is a parallelogram. A figure is given. Find the length of side TQ and the measure of angle S. Option A, TQ is 4 and the measure of angle S is 180 degrees. Option B, TQ is 12 and the measure of angle S is 170 degrees. Option C, TQ is 17 and the measure of angle S is 42.5 degrees. Option D, TQ is 17 and the measure of angle S is 21.25 degrees. As usual, we begin by reading the whole problem and may read it several times when needed to know what we are looking for, to determine what are given, and to figure out how the given information help find what we are looking for. What are we looking for here, learners? You are correct. We are to find the measure of side TQ and the measure of angle S. What are we given? We are given the figure of parallelogram QRST in lengths and angle measures. Okay, let us start by solving the length of side TQ first. Where is side TQ in the figure? We're given that QRST parallelogram. That being said, TQ must be congruent to the side opposite to it. What side is this, learners? You are correct. Side TQ is congruent to side RS. Thus, the measure of side TQ is equal to the measure of side RS. And we can write it this way. Look at the drawing, learners. Side TQ is 3x plus 5. And side RS is 4x plus 1. Now, we plug in the values that are given into our equation. So we now have 3x plus 5 equals 4x plus 1. We subtract 3x from both sides. This gives us 5 equals x plus 1. Next, subtract 1 from both sides. This gives us 4 is equal to x. So the value of x is 4. Remember that this is just the value of x, learners. To find the length of side TQ, we need to plug in the value of x into the expression for TQ. Let's go. So again, the expression is TQ is equal to 3x plus 5. We plug in the value of x, which is 4. So 3 times 4 is 12. Plus 5 gives us the value we are looking for. TQ, therefore, is 17. There you are, learners. The length of side TQ is 17. We now move on to solve for angle S. Remember that in a parallelogram, the consecutive angles, which are angle R and angle S in our figure, are supplementary. That is, the measure of angle R plus the measure of angle S is equal to 180 degrees. We substitute the expressions for angle R and angle S into our equation. We now have 6y plus 10 plus 2y equals 180 degrees. Okay, so we combine like terms. This gives us 8y plus 10 equals 180 degrees. We subtract 10 from both sides. We have 8y equals 170. Finally, we divide both sides by 8. This gives us y equals 21.25 degrees. Now, we substitute the value of y into the equation to solve for the measure of angle S. So the measure of angle S is equal to 2 times y. Plugging in the value of y, which is 21.25. This gives us the measure of angle S, which is 42.5 degrees. There you are, learners. The measure of angle S is 42.5 degrees. So, what is our answer to the problem? Is it option A, option B, option C, or option D? Okay, so the answer is option C. How was it, learners? There you are, learners. Let us summarize what we have learned in today's video. We have learned that, first, a parallelogram is a quadrilateral with opposite sides parallel. Second, the following are the properties of parallelograms. A, opposite sides are parallel. B, opposite sides are congruent. C, opposite angles are congruent. D, consecutive angles are supplementary. E, diagonals bisect each other. F, diagonals form two congruent triangles. Third, the 3 special types of parallelograms are rectangle. A rectangle is a parallelogram with 4 right angles and with congruent diagonals. Next, rhombus. A rhombus is a parallelogram with all 4 sides congruent and diagonals that bisect the angles and are perpendicular bisectors. Next, a square. A square is a parallelogram with 4 congruent sides and 4 congruent angles. Okay, fourth, when solving a problem, you must read it and may read it several times when needed to know what you are looking for, to determine what are given, and to figure out how the given information helps find what you are looking for. Fifth, when a figure is given, make use of it and modify when needed. It is there to help you analyze the problem. There you are, learners. Hope this video helps. That's it for now. If you have any questions, leave a comment below and do not forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to your peers so others will learn too. Bye.